Movies have got to have a strong hero character. You'll hear this a lot, and it's true. Someone charismatic, interesting, proactive. Someone who goes after their goals and doesn't stop until they achieve them. But some movies, some of the best ever in fact, are known more for their villains, their antagonists. The Silence of the Lambs is a big one. Without Hannibal Lecter, it'd just be another episode of The X-Files. The Dark Knight 2 wouldn't be half the movie it is without the Joker. I'm pleased to say that you can add Furiosa, the latest film in the long-running Mad Max series by George Miller, to that list. While Chris Hemsworth's Dementor's character isn't up there with Lecter and the Joker, he's by far the best thing about Furiosa, and I have to say his performance has totally changed my perception of him as an actor. Don't get me wrong, this isn't Heath Ledger levels of good, but Hemsworth is interesting every time he's on the screen, and that's far from a bad thing for a movie's villain to be. But more on that later. First, what's Furiosa actually about? Well, it tells the origin story of Furiosa, a character from the 2015 Mad Max movie Fury Road, played first by Anya Brown and later in the film by Anya Taylor-Joy. Furiosa is living peacefully in her idyllic green place of many mothers when she's kidnapped by raiders under the banner of Hemsworth's Dementus and taken to him. No wilting Violet, Furiosa's mother, chases after her daughter and the raiders, taking a few down along the way. Managing to get Furiosa out, they race to escape, but are chased down by Dementus and his men, who capture the pair, although not before Furiosa's mother instills in her daughter the mission to get back to the green place. Furiosa is forced to watch her mother murdered in a pretty brutal and horrible way, and there and then makes a promise to get her revenge on Dementus. For the rest of the film, we follow her on her adventures, waiting to see whether that vow will be fulfilled. So, Hemsworth, wow. I wasn't expecting this at all. From the moment he appears on the screen, replete with prosthetic nose that renders him almost unrecognisable, and a Bane-esque voice that Hemsworth has described as a mix between a carnival barker, his own grandfather, and weirdly a seagull, until the end of the film he is captivating. Imagine the ham levels of a WWE wrestler in a backstage interview or stomping around the ring, and you're in the right ballpark. It's so full of scenery chewing, I'm surprised there was any left for a backdrop. There's no subtlety at all in the performance, but it's right for the movie. And it's ironic in a way too, because there is absolutely subtlety in Dementus' character, who's being pulled in at least two different directions for every decision he makes. He's a man who deep down wants the best for the world, but understands that's not possible, and so often resorts to the worst. No 2D antagonist here, and the movie is worth a watch for Hemsworth and Dementus alone. Unfortunately, I can't really say the same about the rest of the actors. Furiosa just isn't as interesting when Hemsworth's not on the screen. Anya Taylor-Joy doesn't have much to say, and the little she does have is purely procedural anyway. I need to go here. I must get there. She might as well have been a cardboard cutout for most of the film, like a lot of the other actors in the bigger roles. That's not a negative on Taylor-Joy, mind. Like a ventriloquist dummy, a performer can only work with the words they're given, but for a lead in a movie it's definitely a flat performance. In terms of the plot, well, have you ever had one of those burgers from a van where they grill the meat, slap it in a fluffy bun with a slice of cheese and call it a day? Furiosa's story is a bit like that. It's simple, no frills, no twists. Just set up a couple of factions, give the main character their mission, and away we go. Chow down on all the meaty action and enjoy. And to be fair to these Mad Max films, they don't really claim to be anything else. Fury Road is widely regarded as the best action film since the turn of the millennium, or at least one of them. And whilst I certainly couldn't say the same about Furiosa, there are still some great sections in here. A big battle chase in the middle must have eaten up a good chunk of the film's reported $168 million budget, and certainly eats up a good chunk of its 2 hours 28 runtime. But everything looks good, sounds good, is suitably heart-pumping, and has enough explosions to be classified as a natural disaster. I only worry about the price of scrap metal in Australia going forward. Have a feeling it might collapse with the amount of vehicles that got wrecked in this film. A few nitpicks. I don't know whether it's just me, but I'm beginning to hate the use of chapter breaks in modern movies and games. It's become so common, and I can't for the life of me think what it adds to a film. Why can't we just tell the story straight through like we used to? Every 10-minute section doesn't need its own subtitle. It just screams of the scriptwriter trying to make themselves visible in a more overt way, like a rock star introducing every song with a 5-minute backstory. Furiosa's a bit lopsided too. The opening half an hour is great, setting up story and characters well, and the final half hour is good stuff too, but that sludgy section in the middle is probably 20 minutes longer than it needs to be. I know it's hard writing a captivating second act. They're long and you can't really resolve anything important in them, especially in a simple action movie like this. But just filling it with car chases isn't the answer either, even if that's what Mad Max is known for. And last but not least, I get that death is part of the franchise, but characters' willingness to give up their lives in silly ways in Furiosa does stretch credulity a little. I know food and water is important in this world, but I'm not sure the best way to get it is to ride your motorbike up to a tanker and dive head first under its wheels so that your face ends up looking like a char-grilled chicken. Anyway. Apparently this film got a 7-minute standing ovation at the Cannes Film Festival. Setting aside the fact I couldn't imagine clapping anything for 7 minutes, not even a new national holiday dedicated to sleeping, the ovation does feel a bit much. On the flip side, Furiosa's opening domestic weekend over Memorial Day brought in just $32 million, lowest since 1995's Casper, which feels a bit harsh. Ultimately, the film's somewhere in the middle. It's decent but no more. An entertaining 2.5 hours that looks good on the big screen, you'll watch once and then probably never think about again unless you want to revisit the start of what I would love to be the Hemnaissance, the Hemergence, or whatever they'll call Chris Hemsworth's blossoming into an Oscar-worthy actor. You heard it here first. Anyway, nothing more to say. This is Movie Maverick, signing out.